Welcome to the Love Deep Lab podcast, helping you integrate sex, sexiness, sacredness, and science in your life and your bedroom. And now, your host, Dr. Stormy.
Hi, welcome to the Love Deep Lab podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stormy. And today I'm so excited to have an amazing guest with us here today, who I'm going to introduce in a moment. But today we're talking about food as medicine, right? We all have to eat, we all have to breathe. We might as well do so deliciously, consciously, thoughtfully, and in a really sexy way. So this episode is literally for everyone because we all are out there eating and breathing. So we're going to talk today about food, about sexiness, about well-being, about wellness, and we'll see where else the conversation goes. But I'm so happy to have you all here joining us. And I'm going to introduce our amazing guest, Jess. Jess Krux is a health chef, nutrition practitioner, and a mama in New York City. She believes that food is medicine and has the capacity to transform the body and the mind. She specializes in vibrant, nutrient-dense, plant-based meals. She's currently finishing her first cookbook, Mantras and Meals, with friend and spiritual leader Gabby Bernstein. Jess and her family live part-time in Brooklyn, New York, and on their organic farm 2 hours north of the city. Welcome, Jess.
Hi, Stormy. You're so beautiful. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be sharing time. Amazing. So let's just get right in and let this just flow and be juicy, right? And bringing all of our energies and our wisdom to share with our listeners, right? We all literally have to eat. So, I'd love to just start with hearing how food became your passion and your mission and what that means for you.
Yeah. Food is literally everything, right? And nature is literally everything. And it's I don't know, I feel like my pathway was carved in a way that it was okay, you will work in the restaurants. You will be surrounded by beautiful food, conscious food, not so conscious food. And it's going to kind of you're going to have to sift your way through what works and what feels good. And I was kind of on this very superficial level of food. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't affecting me, or so I didn't think it was affecting me. And it was just what we did. It was good money. I was in the front of the house, the back of the house, seeing it all. And I think back in the early 2000s when I moved to New York City, I wasn't conscious. There was no mindfulness. People didn't talk about mindfulness. It was, New York City was a grind, and you could eat anywhere. You could get whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted, right? Mm-hmm. It was this beautiful experience, but it didn't leave much room for we're going to eat a green juice or get a salad with an abundant amount of vegetables or even talk about that stuff. Right. And I found myself drifting towards not feeling well. I was also doing drugs and very much just not conscious. Right. And ate whatever I wanted and, had a petite frame. So it never really was I can't be unhealthy, but it started showing up on my skin. And my skin started telling the reality story of what was going on.
Yeah.
But I still didn't have the lens of knowledge to realize that. I was literally hiding behind my skin at times. I would call out of work, or I would act sick, or I would just play this other role. So I was I can't show up in public like this. There's absolutely no way. It was so, I remember just thinking about these huge cystic, what felt like welts on my skin.
Yeah.
And so then it was just fast forward to the world kind of shifting in wellness. There was a little bit more heightened awareness around eating well, having that contribute to how you're actually feeling, body awareness. And this is now in the 2010s. Mm-hmm. And I took a very long trip abroad for so many reasons, but it was really I knew I needed to get away from New York City.
Yeah.
And I also knew there was such a pull to learn. And, it was almost this escapism in a way. I had a bunch of money saved. Mm-hmm. I had people who were supporting me if I needed it. But I was I really want to go and learn about farming and permaculture and how to live off the grid. God forbid we ever needed to. I just had these downloads of the future and what potentially could be then trending in a way.
Yeah.
So I went abroad in 2010, 11, 12 for a year and a half and met different cultures and lived on their land and did this program called woofing. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it. It's this beautiful exchange program. You live for free, you eat for free, and you work for free. And it's all
Beautiful.
just this beautiful trait. And I think I went to 10 to 12 different countries and learned a lot, saw a lot, felt and saw my skin changing, my body changing, my awareness changing, my mindfulness changing, everything. And I just kept like tapping deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into like, oh my God, what if we could actually control how we feel? And look, you know,
amazing.
And I think, and it's like, and it's such like this like easily downloaded concept of like, oh my God, like we really do have the control. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Right.
Yeah.
So I just kept going and going and going. New York City was always my like landing pad. And then I would drift somewhere else. Cause I knew, I think in a big picture, I know now, of course, but like, I knew it wasn't time yet to fully ground back down in New York. So I drifted off to Vermont. I opened up a mini juice bar there with the help of a lot of friends and support. And it was shoestrung together. It was hilarious. It was amazing. It was silly. But it really, that was the portal. That was like the refined portal of knowing that like, holy moly, you can feel really, really good when you take away everything else and focus on drinking and eating like the essence of what nature has given us. And I was, and it just like, and again, it was just like this compounded feeling of like food is medicine, food is medicine.
Yeah.
I would hear people coming into this, mind you, I'm like adjacent to this, like the most like well-known ice cream shop in Vermont. So this organic juice bar, of course, organic, like I had to be organic. I had to have, like, it was like just so funny. And then I'm like in this little, and this is my brother. Yeah. Friend. And like, and here we are, people are getting ice cream, moms are getting juices. I had a really big following of like guys who like had like arthritis or like, you know, inflammation in the joints or things like this, where they're like, I think this green juice is really helping. Like I actually feel better. And I was like, I know, like, you know, when you were experiencing it, by the way, my skin was like now very clear. I would get breakouts here and there, but I realized like what my triggers were and like what was actually happening. And now it's mainstream knowledge of like dairy and sometimes gluten. And of course, not across the board, but for me, it really was. It was like very much dairy and soy and things that are triggers for people's immune systems and bodies.
Yeah, totally.
So it was just this continuing like snowball effect of like, okay, I'm self-taught. I haven't gone to school for this yet, but like, I'm not going to be a phony and pretend like I know what I'm talking about when I don't. But I knew the medicine was working, but I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to school for this stuff pre that. And so I'm like, and it just as a woman who needs to like continue to like go deeper. It's always about going deeper and almost like the core. I was like, I'm going to go back to school and educate myself. As much as people wanted me to stay and continue to expand and maybe do like a smoothie and a salad shop, I'm like, I need more backbone here because this is power. And I went back to school. I went to school in Phoenix for nutrition and culinary, and it was this gorgeous art school. And it was like, that was the moment for me that I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is my life. This is what I'll be doing. It's no longer for me. It will be for other people. And the people that this knowledge and experience touches will create the ripple for you, for friends, for family, for their friends and family. And that's how I feel we change the world. Like,
amazing. Right? Yeah. And I can feel your passion like exuding through Zoom, and it's just amazing. So you are clearly doing what you're meant to be doing. That's awesome. And for all of you listening, I'm sure you can hear it. If those of you watching, you can see Jess just like exuding that this is her path, right? Like such deep passion on that. Amazing. And you also said like a couple of things that have really landed for me. You were saying about, you know, we can eat unconsciously or we can eat consciously, like such a big difference, right? And I mean, I still have moments. I have a deep meditation practice, and I still have moments where I'm like, wait, what did I eat? Like I didn't even take a moment to like really drop in, let alone consider it, or be grateful for it, or all the things that we can do. But you also said like that it showed up in your skin, and you know, for me, that's really this, like our body doesn't lie. Our minds can trick and we have these inner critics and narratives, but our body never lies. It's such a like sayer of truth, right? So I love that your skin was showing you the way, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think to that point, it's like, it's really crappy to go through those moments, if we're talking about the body and about like what you feel you want to look like or be like or feel like, and in your own like vision board of that, like if you're not in that space, it's really hard to be like, to tell someone like, well, this is how it is right now. And this is, like, it's almost like your version of who you are right now is like showing you what you should call it work on or work towards, or like where you want to be. But it's really hard when you're there, because you're like, dude, I don't want to be walking around with acne. I don't want to be feeling this size, or I don't want to be having stomach aches or back aches. And then it's like, but the body doesn't lie. And the body is literally being like, it's forcing you to figure out what is going on.
I love that. It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And it's so real.
Yeah. And not with like, it just came in there when you were saying that, it was like, not with this like self-shaming or cultural messaging or all the shit we get about we should look this way or we should be this way. It's more of like really listening to your body. And I love that you said that twice, which I love, is like, what do you want to look like, be like, feel like, right? All of the aspects of that, body love, self-confidence, feeling good, feeling healthy, feeling empowered. And that might look and feel a little different for each person. But I love the idea of like listening to our bodies rather than listening to the bullshit cultural messaging filter fan, craziness that we get bombarded with, men and women in our culture, and so Jess, like, I would love to, you're talking about what you want to look like, feel like, be like, which I love that, right? And listening to our body and using food as a way to support what we want to look like, feel like, and be like. So how do you see that food, like, to me, that really tapped into like my feeling of self-confidence and my feeling of self-efficacy, my feeling of power and soundness in my body, and how that might relate to my feeling of sexiness, my feeling of being this like sexy, vibrant being or not, and how that might relate to sexuality.
Yeah. I mean, so I always bring back, I feel like everything, whether I'm working with myself or working with another, it's like to like your plate, like to your physical plate of what you're eating, consuming, and, there's two ways of looking at that. Like, okay, like what am I actually putting on my plate from my refrigerator and pantry? And like, what am I putting on my plate from the outside world that I can control, but less controllable? Right. And first off, like, I need to say, like, I think it's really mandatory and necessary to give ourselves grace, because it's not a straight line to where we want to be. It will never be. It's just not, life isn't that way. So
wellness doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work. And honestly, it wouldn't be fun if it worked. Like,
no, it wouldn't.
So it's like, first off, saying that, because I understand how hard it can be. And I've worked with so many people where I work with clients, and it's not, we're not talking about small feats of like, I can't eat gluten, so can you help cook for me? I'm talking about like for infertility, fertility, like serious amounts of weight loss, like things that are so changing for the human psyche and then the human physical, that it's like, you need to give yourself grace, knowing that whatever your journey is will take time. It's going to take the work. It's going to take education. And it's like, once you start doing, you feel like you're like tacking away at the work and you feel like you're on the path and you have support. Asking for support, I feel like, is the most important thing you can do. Right? Like, from somebody that you trust and from somebody that has the knowledge that you're looking for. And then it's like, once all that kind of like that stuff is like in the pie of like you're now like your sphere of awareness, it's like, then you can start kind of making the shift towards what feels good to you. Right. Yeah. And I feel like once you kind of like take away the riffraff and like leave the noise, because there's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
You put on your Instagram or your social media and there's a lot of noise. Everybody has an opinion. Of course, here I am sharing mine. But everyone has an opinion, and everyone has something to say about something. We all are promoting ourselves to be this thing. And so it's like really trusting who you're like resonating with.
Yeah.
And then realizing that it doesn't take much to feel good, even though the journey is long, but it doesn't take much. Right.
Oh, I love that. So well said. Oh, it doesn't take much to feel good, even though the journey is long. That's a beautiful quote.
And like, now take it to your relationship, whomever you're with, literally, whether it's your partner or your parents. It's like, how do you also like minimize all the noise? Like, how do you bring it back to this like really core? If the mission is to feel good, I mean, everyone wants to feel good. Let's just call it that. It's really simple.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to feel good with my partner. I want to feel good with the man that I've chosen to be with for the rest of my life, who's a parent to my children. I want to feel good with you. Obviously, not every day. We're not going to feel good.
Yeah.
Work towards that.
Yeah.
And we can do those little things, whether in or outside of the bedroom, to feel right.
I love that.
It like ties into this whole idea for me of just habits. And it's like, you do a little bit every day, every day. You're awake every day. Even if you're in bed for 12 hours, you can still do something every day.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? It's like, so whether you're just literally simplifying it as like, okay, I need to drink more water. Amazing. We live in a world, the people listening and the people around us, we live in a world, thank the Lord, where we are free, for the most part, to find drinking water. We can drink more water if that's like, hydration's a big thing. Or like, you want to feel a bit more affection from your husband or your partner or your wife or your girlfriend. And we need to communicate that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like the water is there to drink. It's like a physical thing. Okay, I know I need it. I'm going to grab it. It's like, okay, well, now I know what I need in my husband. I want to feel more affection or love or tenderness or care. It's like he or she, they like, you think no one's reading our minds.
Right. They literally cannot. Yeah, we assume they can all the time. Often.
The water's not just going to come to your bedside table and be like, I'm here now, like, shut it up. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I mean, I've been in so much therapy at this point in my life.
Yeah.
And I have a beautiful counselor, like, he's incredible, but it's like the so many take homes, but the real downloads that are like communication and like asking.
Yeah. Totally. Owning and asking your needs, wants, and desires is a huge thing, right?
And the most beautiful thing is, it's like you married somebody that wants to provide.
And wants to hear those things, And
who doesn't want to be led to what's good for them.
Yeah.
I mean, so totally. I just feel like it's all connected, right? It's all just like,
it really is.
River. You're like, here we go.
Well, I love that. So you said so many beautiful things there, but so much grace and self-compassion, right? In this journey to wellness, right? From the, like you said, the literal plate, food we put on our plate, to our figurative plate, to clearing out the noise, like so much grace and self-compassion, which is very different than this, shaming, self-criticality, social messaging, let's repress, all these messages that we get. So, I mean, I love that idea of, endless, and keep coming back to grace and self-compassion. And then you said little by little, right? Like every day, right? So what I'm hearing you say, which is really interesting, is that food is like a practice. It can be a practice. Like we don't just arrive at good health and conscious eating. It's a practice. And the same goes for sexuality, right? We're not like all of a sudden we're like, ta-da, I'm this like sexy beast and have these mind-blowing orgasms. It's like, it's a practice, right? And if we can think of it as a practice, we give ourselves more self-compassion and grace to like be really awesome in practice one day and maybe less awesome the next day, and coming back to the practice. But then also you said so I love the analogy of the plate. It's like totally percolating in my mind, right? Like what we literally put on our plate and figuratively are putting on our plate. But asking for, like, communicating with your partner, our needs, wants, and desires and that's in everything, in life, in love, in lust, in sex, like, and knowing that our partner can literally not read our mind. It's not possible, right? Let alone the like beautiful complications and mysticism and magic powers of the feminine mind, So that is so, Yeah, I really love those alliances there. And for you, obviously, food is food is medicine. So not just something, I think of like Maslow's basic needs, right? You're talking about food, water, shelter, and sex and breathing, there's others too, but those are basic needs. And that's why I started out with the intro saying we have to eat and we all want to have sex. So we might as well learn to do both really well and start practicing doing both really well.
Yeah. And, it's funny. It's like, I feel like these conversations, this kind of conversation, just like being really intimate and open and raw is like, it always leads you to like that idea of going back to like, well, how do you feel right now? What do you need? And I start off when I was working with clients one-on-one, it's always kind of how we start. Like, how are you feeling today? And if you could have anything in the world, it's always my question, like, if you could be anything or do anything in this exact moment or feel any way, like, what's your perfect scenario? And then it's like, with that, for me, like, I feel like my superpower a little bit is like being able to feel people's desires, clients, people, friends, even too, husband, but like feel people's desires and then say they want to feel like, oh my God, I'm just so flighty and I need to be grounded. Like, I really need to like slow down, be grounded, quote unquote, per se. That's like that situation. And then it's like, from that, how do you then go into what to feed your body? You really want to be grounded and you feel flighty and you're like up in the clouds. And you definitely don't want to be like adding more caffeine in. I mean, that's an obvious thing, but it's not obvious to everybody.
Right.
You want to do things that are really supportive to your adrenals. You want to do things that are really grounding. You want to eat things that are literally from the earth that you have to pull out of the soil. Like, like it's actually like Mother Nature has given us like everything we need. And it's like almost like when we stop confusing things and can really look at the food as medicine, like with a lens of like, what is this food going to do for me today?
Yeah.
Potentially making a soup or using potatoes or carrots or beetroot and using a bone broth and things like this, or beans, things that are really like fibrous and filling and satiating, where it's going to literally, spiritually
ground.
Right. And so, and it's funny. And like, so that is always my question to myself, my clients, my friends, my family, like, how do you want to feel? And then
I love that.
Was this plate serve you?
How do you want to feel?
How, like, is this plate serving me? Like, if you want to go get French fries and a hot dog at the football game, that's amazing. First off, joy is the most important part here.
Yeah.
Like, we're not denying that.
Right.
But can you think a little forward thinking here and wonder potentially, is that hot dog, French fries, mustard, ketchup, mayonnaise, whatever, no judgment. There's no judgment here. But like, is that going to make you feel good in an hour, 2 hours, and maybe even tomorrow? And if the answer is, I don't know, and I think so, then amazing. Indulge.
I love that. Yeah.
But if it's like, if you really want to start shaking out, like potentially adding like more nutrients, more density, more diversity into your diet, then you have to think a little bit bigger in the sense of like, there's a lot of food out there that can maybe actually, help me feel the way I desire to be felt. I believe it. I mean, I've lived it.
Oh my gosh. How do you want to feel? It's so simple and yet so damn profound, right? How do you want to feel? Oh, I love that.
Today, Stormy.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Okay, so you already started leading. We do sexy homework, as I'm sure you've listened on other podcasts. I want some like ways that people who are listening or watching can be like, oh my God, I'm so inspired. How can I start using food to feel sexier and using food, like you said, to feel, how do you want to feel, using food as medicine? So you just mentioned one practice, which is great, to say, how do I want to feel? And does what I'm putting on my plate move me in that direction or not? Like you said, no judgment. But I'm wondering if you have Jess, if you have like 2 other sexy homework practices that people can start to be more conscious of.
So for me, like, there's 2 parts in just the downloads I'm just getting right now from the question. So there's a creativity part, and then there's an intuitive part. So I feel like being in the kitchen is this really gorgeous act of control, but also this act of like you could be an artist and you can kind of like create this. I keep going back to this a plate, a meal, a dish for yourself, for others. So it's like this, like you have this almost like opportunity to try new things and also create a plate that looks like gorgeous, you know, and it doesn't, no one's judging you if it looks gorgeous to you and not to your neighbor, that's fine.
Right.
But like, I mean, think about when you make something or you serve somebody and you're like proud of it. You're
totally.
Like, oh, let's just even take a cheese board, like something that's like, or a hummus plate or whatever, a crudité board where you're like, I'm going to make this sexy fucking board. And it's people's minds.
Totally.
And like, I'm sorry, but like, it's so ridiculous how so many people, like with some of the posts that I was having this conversation the other day, I like made there were shiitake mushrooms that were like gorgeous. And I was like making like a chakra out of them. And I was just like, the shiitake chakra. And like, there was like so much funny feedback about it. And they're like, no, I wanted to, like one moment, my friend who I saw this weekend was like, I wanted to print that. And I was like, it's just amazing how I'm not even lying, like food in your own presence and in your kitchen and on your countertop, like if it's a clear space, I'm making the time and space, like that creativity is legit wildfire for like how you feel.
That's so awesome and so fucking sexy, like you said. Like I'm like, I'll look at that and be like, that is so sexy. I'm actually turned on, not in a sexual way, in a sensual way, right? Like food is sexy as shit.
Like, and the truth is, like, and this everybody says this, but it's like we literally eat with our eyes, not always. When we're giving ourselves time and space to be like, oh my God, you go to a restaurant to be served yummy, beautiful food. Yeah. To like make it like, oh my God, like, I mean, the amount of pictures that are taken of food, yes, it's become a trend, but it's like, I'm here for it. Totally. I am here. Like, I will never discriminate against you and what you're doing. Like, I love you for it. I don't give a shit if it's like an intimate space. Take your photo. That's what I do.
Amazing.
But you know, so it's, I think that piece one, be creative as fuck. Whatever feels good. And also there's such an exercise there. I mean, I really believe everyone's an artist, and I believe that there's a way to cultivate that in the kitchen.
Yeah, amazing.
Other pieces, and I think this applies like in the bedroom and in the kitchen. They're so related to me. They really are. But this intuitive piece, where when I teach my cooking classes, I never give a recipe. Beforehand, you know, they get the shopping list and they get all these things, but there's never a recipe. And most people, and now a lot of people are my friends who have cooked with, but it's like, hey, like I need the recipe. Like I'm not going to remember how we cooked that 2 hours like of time together. It's like gone. So, and I do it on purpose. It's like, because I feel like when we're cooking or when we're in a space that's sacred with your partner, it's like, there's this, you have to tap into what you need, want, desire in that moment, right? Like, and to read a recipe for me is like, you're losing it. You're like, I'm following this recipe, 2 cups, tablespoons, so in this like mold. And you really lose the experience of like intuitive, not only cooking, but eating. Because that recipe is made for, I don't know, the masses, it works. Baking especially. But like, let's talk about like a really warming, amazing curry. Like my flavor profile is not yours, Stormy. Right? It's like, I may need some things that you don't like and vice versa. And I feel like that is like how you can navigate in say, let's call it just like your sacred space with your partner in your bedroom, where you're like, you know, my girlfriend did X, Y, and Z, but like, that's not going to work for me. Like, I need to like turn up the music. I want to like light candles. I want to like feel a certain way, because right now, like, that's what I'm tapping into.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't know. It's all about that, right? Just like,
that intuition. I don't know that I've ever connected those two, about the intuition in cooking as well as the intuition in the bedroom. Obviously that's what I work with my clients on, but to your point, it's so, let alone that food is all sorts of aphrodisiacs, right? That's a whole other podcast.
That's 100%. And you're like, okay, that's like the obvious stuff. But I think when we go deeper, right? You're like,
yeah, totally. It's this intuition. And I love what you said there about what is it I'm needing? What is it I want to feel? What is my body needing right now? What does my psyche need? What's my soul needing right now? And there's along with the intuition, there's an element of pause that's needed, right? So to pause, for sure in the bedroom and also in the kitchen, to pause. What do I want to put into this? What is my body wanting and desiring? maybe like you said, maybe I'm needing to ground, or maybe I'm needing to not ground, whatever I'm needing, but that pause and to listen to our intuition. And as we practice, our intuition gets louder, right? But I mean, there was a time in my life where my intuition was like a faint fucking whisper because I wasn't listening to her. And now she's way louder, but it's this practice, right? Amazing. That is so beautiful. I love those 3 sexy homeworks for our listeners. So before we get into the speed round of questions for our amazing guest, Ms. Jess, I would love to hear what you're so excited about for your book. It's really exciting time for you. And I would just love to hear what's lighting you up about your book and what we can all look forward to.
Yeah. So long story short, the book has been an ongoing, like, yearly project, as I'm sure a lot of authors know. And, it's this beautiful thing where I wrote it in the pandemic. And so it's a practice of my own where I'm like, I want to go back and edit everything. Right. Mm-hmm. But I know, like, when I wrote it then, there was such drive and like conviction to why I was writing this, because everybody was cooking at home. Gabby is a really good friend. So like her adding her mantras on top of cooking is kind of tapping into that intuitive like piece of like mindfulness and intuition in the kitchen, knowing what you need, but also like thinking about a mantra when you're cooking is really beautiful, right? Like
it's
even
so cool.
Really kind words to yourself while you're feeding your body. Like literally, we kind of have to be our own cheerleader today, right? So it's like the book is a huge, like, heartfelt, ridiculous project, and I think, this is kind of off topic, but like I trust the process in like, timing, because the book it wasn't actually supposed to quote unquote anything. It was talked about years ago, and then we wrote it, and now we're like really dialing it in, and it's done. We still need to shoot it. Like, I know it's gorgeous, but it's like one of those things where, you want something so badly, and then it's like kind of time kind of pushes backwards. You're like swimming in the current a little bit. And then, oh my God, like the book's going to come out next year, and God willing. Right. And it's like, that's the time. This is the time. There's no way I just had a baby. There's no way I could have like had a new book and a baby birth both at the same time. So it's just a reminder that like, you have to trust the process. And like when it feels really, really like frustrating to be like, I wanted it one way, or like, I
totally,
it's like,
especially when it's like a love project. It's just like, it's like we can put so much fire into our love project, which is amazing. Your passion like exudes from you, and the surrender and trust, the timing, the letting go. I mean, I'm projecting my stuff right now, but as a powerful woman, that the divine feminine and the surrender that's called for in the divine feminine, and this isn't male, female, I'm talking about feminine, masculine energies, is really fucking hard at times, right? To stay in passion, and yet also to surrender to timing, to universe, to faith, to God, whatever you call it, tap into, is such a beautiful dance. So I am cheerleading like heck for you. I cannot wait to get my hands on your book, and the timing will be perfect.
I know. And it's funny because in the meantime, it's just like, so like I said, I think I said this in the beginning, we were speaking, like I am in this like crazy business vortex of it's almost like I feel like I'm in this like gorgeous like tunnel of tornado, but tornado is not the right word because that's triggering, but like this really beautiful funnel, and it's like so many colors, and it's rainbow, and it's like light pastel, and you're like, I feel like there's things just like coming into my sphere. Things that like have landed, and it's like, I think not for the first time, but I'm in this moment where I see the future really clearly. And I'm in New York City now for the remainder of my son's like existence, because he got into school in the city. So we're, moving to the city and all these things. But like, I think for the longest time, I'm like, I want to be able to give me and like the flavor of me through the vessel of food, of course. But like, how do we do that? And so I'm like, I think, and I say this, and I want to say this with conviction, but I'm opening like a brick and mortar. Like I'll be a part of like a really beautiful, like health, like moment. And I'm just excited to like put myself on something and be able to let the ripple kind of do its thing.
Awesome.
City. So it's really
So good. I see you and celebrate you. It's so good.
There's so much happening and it's amazing, but it's also like being able to come back to it and realizing that like life is wild out there and like
I know.
hold it in and like allow it.
Totally. You said the tornado and you said that might not be the right word. It's funny. As you were saying that, what the imagery that was coming to mind for me is like the eye of the storm is perfectly calm when like shit is going on and around, so it might just be the perfect place for you. So awesome. Okay. Yeah. So let's do our little speed round. So the 3 pillars of our podcast are sex, science, and sacredness. So Jess, this is a little intimacy building for you and I here, but I'm going to ask you right now, what makes you feel so sexy? So sex, what makes you feel so sexy right now?
Coming out of the shower and being in a bathrobe and like just literally bring it back to like a primitive vibration of like candle, music, bathrobe, clear skin, like just feeling naked.
Amazing. So
weird.
Beautiful. Like, so sexy.
It's so simple.
So simple and so sexy. So beautiful. Awesome. And then science. So right now, like what's lighting you up inside where you can't like read enough or learn enough about it? Like it could be anything at all in science that's like stimulating you, scintillating you right now.
I think the data behind the continuous, beautiful data behind the stress properties and the efficiency of what nature can do. And we live in this space where everything has become virtual. And I am grateful for it. It has like pushed my business in such an insane direction. But we like can't forget how important she is. And to like, even if it's like, you don't have time. I work all day inside. I have children. I have to, it's like going outside to even take 15 minutes to like sit in the sun or in the rain or on a bench or in the soil or dig in the grass or whatever you can do. We have to find a way because she is the relief that we need in this wild and chaotic world. And she will always be until she's not. But a lifetime, let's hope she will be. And it's like nature. I mean, there is data showing just like the properties of how stress releasing it can be. Yeah. And sleep and mood and sex drive and all these things. So like, even if it's 10 minutes, like we need vitamin D and we need to go outside.
Oh, love it. Power of Pachamama, right? Thank you. Amazing. It's so good. Yes. And it can be in small doses, like you said, that's so powerful. And I completely relate to that. Medicine, nature is medicine for me. The mountains, I live in Utah, so the mountains are very much medicine for me, but it can be anywhere. You can get it anywhere.
I live in the city. You're like, it's literally like, just go hang out under the blossoming cherry trees. It's like insane.
They're so vibrant right now. It's amazing. Okay. And then sacredness. So what feels sacred for you in your life right now, Jess?
The moments with my 3-year-old son. I feel like the time is an illusion, but it's also not, because it's just like fleeting. It's gone. You're like, okay. And then I have these really gorgeous moments, of course, with my young 10-month-old as well. But my son Benji, like, we have these moments in time where he's just like getting it. And we have this like beautiful moment in the kitchen, whether he's like on the stool and we're making pancakes, or I'm like crawling in his bed and I like crawl in his bed and we read. Like, that is it. That's it.
I feel that for you. So
it's so heart opening, right? Like, we have to find the tender moments in this like somewhat rigid space.
Yeah, totally. Time, like you said, time is such an illusion and so not. It's like all at the same time. It's really beautiful. That was well said. Awesome. So before we close, how can our listeners and watchers find you, follow you, work with you, all the great things?
Yeah. So Instagram, I only use that. I've been told now a few times that TikTok is the way to go for good stuff. But right now, Instagram, j.krux, my last name, j.krux at Instagram handle. And then my website, my website's Organic Earth Kitchen at Gmail, which I kind of, it's a nice platform to use and kind of keep things updated. But yeah, any signups or things like that.
Beautiful. So I'll put all of that in the show notes so that you can follow Jess. Obviously, you just got to share some time with her. I highly recommend her. This woman is on fire in a really grounded way. So check her out, follow along. And that's another thing. We get to be like super fiery and super damn grounded and everything in between. So amazing. Well, thank you to our listeners and our viewers for being here today. Thank you for being brave and opening your hearts to love deep.